Сначала поделюсь своими такими человеческими эмоциями, личными. Я безумно рада вас всех видеть. Вы знаете, от зала идет такое тепло. Мы так долго не виделись, мы не виделись 3 года. И сегодня это не только наша очередная встреча на Финополисе, но это прежде всего,
FINOPOLIS, but it is also this human interaction that we have missed so much. And we can discuss our achievements, our successes, and the key question is what we should do, what we would like to do in the nearest future to feel not only confident and happy, but also successful as a country. I would like to introduce my colleagues who are here with me, who will be participating in this discussion, and then we'll share just a few words what I would like to discuss with you today in this format. Alexander Vedyakhin, First Deputy CEO of Sberbank, Vladimir Verkhoshinskiy, General Manager of Alfa-Bank, Vladimir Kirienko, CEO of VK Group, Dmitrii Oguriaev, the Deputy Minister of Digital Development and Mass Communications, and Shayhutdinov, Deputy Governor of the Republic of Tatarstan. So the name of the session is it's Digital Surfing, Wave Upon Wave. We had a great panel discussion today. I hope you enjoyed it very much, and colleagues wanted to answer the question, how can we maintain our development rates, pace? Being a financial or digital market, we would like not to miss this wave that we got on, and now we would like to advance and to overcome all the obstacles. At the same time, those who are doing surfing, personally I don't do it, but I consulted with those who do it regularly, and I realized that we have a lot of things in common. Financial market players and tech companies have something common with it. When you know well the ocean, when you've done it before, and you do surfing another time, so you have some idea about waves, so you understand risks, and it's a familiar situation for you. So when you have an objective to ride a wave in a different ocean, so it's a step into the unknown. It's dangerous, it's terrifying. So surfers would like to get that adrenaline, not to beautifully die under the waves, but to be able to overcome them, to get on top, and to learn to manage those waves, to subdue them. So during the pandemic, we thought that we were able to control the waves. At least many had that kind of confidence. There are many challenges out there during the pandemic. We faced many problems, issues, but what else can come our way? And then what happened, you know, that historic moment came along, and for sure we had not been prepared for 100%. We had foreseen some problems that may arise, and our infrastructure was developed, keeping in mind that Russia should be independent in terms of digital technologies and other areas, but that we would face such set of challenges or such waves. That was a real mega challenge, and it's still here with us. And today with my colleagues, I wanted to discuss these questions. First of all, what have we done right when we created a national digital infrastructure, not only financial or payment infrastructures, payment system, interbank, but also digital profiles, digital services with government services, digital services of the banks. So what has worked out of them? And we would like to develop it further, and if we want to do it, we need to think how. And second question is, so what we forgot about, so when we think about national infrastructure and its creation and where we face difficulties. So I would like to put my first question to Dmitrii. So Ministry of Digital Development is our partner, Central Bank, Ministry of Digital Development, they do things, they continue to run a lot of projects. We're not always happy. We have a lot of arguments with them, but I want them to move faster. They explain to me that their pace is such because of difficulties. I do understand that, but at the same time, we were able to run such projects as digital ID of a natural person. We are awaiting a government key platform. So, Dmitrii, how do you assess the infrastructure, digital infrastructure? So from your perspective, in terms of convenience for businesses and its scalability, it's not that you just do it, but we all use it, and that should be the objective. And another question, we have talked a lot about digital identity of legal entity. So it's been something like 4 years, and we do come back to this issue, why businesses and banks need it. Because without data from government information systems, many things should be controlled or looked up, and we still use, paper-based documentation. So digital profile results, some of those issues, we have about 20 million people who use them. 7 million was the growth of the last 6 months. So we'd like to hear when you will develop a digital profile for legal entities. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for the invitation. I wanted to say that we are happy to be here with the Central Bank. So we talked about this imagery wave that comes after wave. We have a different picture. In digital development with tsunamis, revolutionary changes in e-government, etc. And I think they're very obvious for all of you. Just one example. So you're familiar with NPS. It used to be 30%, now it's over 60%. Basically, that means it says it all. Speaking of a digital profile, it's a revolutionary project. Why? Because even now, over 80 organizations are connected. So we get over 1,000 applications from persons who use their digital profiles to work with insurance companies or banks, and it's a growing trend. And so on and so forth. It's insurance companies and banks, they process that without paper. So we have loan scoring, etc. So it's a working scheme. It has been tested, and I don't know any other peers of that system around the world, so we're happy to work with the Central Bank, and it is only in partnership that you can do digitalization. You cannot do it on your own or in standalone mode. You should have partners and a digital profile. So Central Bank worked on it and pressured it 5 years ago, and so now we see some sprouts coming along, some growth, and some other things as well. They're being implemented. Profile for a legal entity, so it takes some weeks. In few weeks, this year, it's just few weeks away. So maybe in 5 weeks, if the first company will get their digital profile, we'll publish a press release on it with and that company will make history. I don't know who will be the first to go, but you can start queuing for it. Speaking of e-government, this is a special pride for us, because the digital platform is when you develop some services and others use them as they wish. It's like a Lego. So we use this ideology and really skyrocketed. So government services, they were somewhat monolithic, and it took some time for them to do something, to change. And now we implemented many things, so you use those pieces that you can move around, also some departments, and they can implement their services on their own. So they do this piecemeal work on their own. There is a government decree that specifically deals with that, to cut red tape, to debottleneck, and it's a scalable situation where any organization or any government body may use us for their purposes and achieve their objectives. So in terms of e-government infrastructure, we are just a tool.
We are a platform which is unparalleled around the world. I'm referring to digital tsunami because we, as like a legal constructor within 2 financial quarters, we launched more than 100 different services. Different departments did that. All those things are being done even without us by departments quite on their own, without terms of reference, without red tape. So we have been gearing towards this end, and we make very big strides forward. First, we launched them experimentally. Now it's a pipeline, and the digital profile of a legal entity would be circulated rapidly, much rapidly than the one of the households and individuals. But we did that as well. Thank you very much, Dmitrii. Well, I figured out that FINOPOLIS is exercising the role of fantastic accelerator, boosting up things. And I received information that our draft law on one-stop shop operator for identifying mobile phones was launched. This was initiated several years back from now. I received information right now that the Ministry for Digital Development has issued the official permit for that project to be officially launched. The Ministry of Digital Development has been working in a very good way, doing everything smoothly and promptly. I have got a question for Roman. Roman had been under different hats before. It's very interesting when he used to be a civil servant, then he worked in a commercial company. Now he is the Vice Prime Minister of Tatarstan Republic, responsible for digitalization of business projects. Tell me something. How did you reconsider your paradigm or your stand vis-a-vis your previous experience when you were in charge of the digitalization of governmental services, but in the Republic? Typically, people, when they're changing their hats and their positions, used to say, I had been doing that in a good way, but now I am under a different hat, and I don't like it at all. So are the results of your previous work appealing to you now when you're under the different hat? And second question, regions are like people in the fields who have got hands-on experience and providing us with the feedback, whether everything we do is really working or it's just a fancy lip-deep stuff to be appraised for reaching the KPIs, and all our efforts of going down the drain. Central Bank never did that. Of course, it did everything right. I mean, your take on it as the representative of the region, which should be developed from the standpoint of digitalization at the level of governmental services and businesses as well. By the same token, thank you very much, Olga, for having been invited. It is a fabulous forum. I guess it's a jubilee or forum. Tatarstan has always been astride of the high level of digital services. There are lots of different digital services, and there is the portal of services in Tatarstan. They were implemented as a system and platform for interaction for B2C and for giving access to different commercial services to of businesses and not-for-profit organizations even. That's what has been underway in Tatarstan, the interaction at Gos Tech platform, that is the state tech platform, and others. Well done, and these were carried through with that. And Bank of Russia is present here, and the Minister for Digital Development is here. I'm going to say that there is a different level of digital readiness. It's not a digital divide, of course, but there are some regional which are very more powerful digitally, like Tatarstan. It's a model example, and there are some services mindful of the platform. There are plethoras of services to reuse. There are platforms like Local and My Subsidies. These are the services which boost up the development of local economy, providing access to different digital formats, or in getting subsidies and setting up different applications. It's possible to be reused. And there are some other federal entities which are just waiting for the time when all those services would be fully developed by others, and they could reuse that. Regional digital assets would be officially existing soon. You tackled upon a very important issue, so I've got a question right away for both of you, for Dmitrii as well. What should be done for us not to have digital divides between different regions from the standpoint of governmental services? In our bank, there are no fragmented efforts. As market participant, as a regulator, when we launch businesses, our main goal is to provide equal playground for all the participants to be at par with all those services access. Also outreaching remote regions. We do this work with banks as well. We launch our systems having that in mind. What should be done for the governmental services? Olga, you're asking a question, and I know that you know the answer. Yes, you do. Is the set of APIs and sectoral platforms. What we have been discussing requires not just a certain set of data factories and services for use available via API to platforms. They should be both regional and sectoral alike, mindful of the sectoral ones. Transportation sectors guys are working on electronic digital declaration and electronic bill of lading for transportation. They need access via APIs to a plethora of different pieces of information, a digital profile of legal entity among them. This is the main blood vessel of our country. There should be a verified and well-regulated access to those APIs as to the regions, region-wide. A while ago, we started up with a large project at the regional level. It was made possible due to our joint efforts on the project of Mir card, bank's card. It's a great merit which should be given to the originators of this platform. As to the regions, they should be provided with the ability to participate in the development of those APIs, because there are some regional implications as well. And regions well developed would provide for informational protection of the application and their own system of identification for non-governmental but socially significant services, or just on a demand. There could be their own system of identification which is available in Tatarstan, and we are ready and willing to be engaged with that as well. As to sectoral ones, Olga, there is a huge layer and component which contains IT sector. I'm responsible for the development of FINOPOLIS project, among other things. So there should be smooth conditions for IT companies and software engineers to grow rapidly. a big number of companies comes along. They need access to the data to monetize their own developments. It's a huge bulk of those specialists in IT companies, platform solutions, APIs, best practices, reuse are most important things here. To recap on what Roman said, to set up the architecture of digital services like that, I think that we should roll up our sleeves and work very decently. Dmitrii will give you a helping hand. I'm beside you. Well, let's say mobile, I've got a mobile by one manufacturer, the other one has got something else, and charges are different. So the mobile manufacturers should come to terms about that. So there should be one and the same charging device. That would be strategically very right and more convenient and handy for the users, and it will cut costs. We should agree upon standards of interaction, standards of sharing information, standards of data exchange, and so on. Different life will come after that. When we identify those standards based on the principles of APIs, open APIs, we should carry through with that. But first, we should come to terms about the architectural implications of that. That's most challenging at the state governmental services. We started from the standards way back from now, because even the patronymic of an individual was to be introduced into the governmental services portal in 4 different options. So we had to be very precise about the standards, mindful of the regions or the federal level. They might get different needs, and we should introduce parameters in more uniform ways to get rid of redundant parameters and over excess items and different attributes. So we should meet halfway, and we'll move way more rapidly after that. Thank you very much. So it's high time we should do that, because for mindful the financial market was stalled unless we get rid of the fragmentary detached development and sporadic launches of services in different times done by different regions. There should be more uniformity. When we were thinking about launching infrastructural projects in the payment sphere and the financial market, we did that homework. Strategy-wise, we looked at targeted business architecture, national payment ecosystem, identified which we do, which we hadn't done yet. Based on that, we made a decision about launching all our initiatives. On the one hand, not to reiterate everything I did, those platforms and services done by commercial banks are their business, their prerogatives, but there should be infrastructure which might help covering the blank spots. FINOPOLIS is a wonderful venue. Oftentimes we discuss national projects which should be done, or maybe they should be discarded. As to the results of EPU projects and others, they were the outcomes of our joint discussions, which we held about 5 years back from now. Some players in this market would not be willing to have those infrastructures, remote infrastructures, but some would like to have that. I would like to ask these questions to my colleagues on the right-hand side, Alexander, Vladimir, and Vladimir. Colleagues, just be outspoken about it. 3 options of the answer. Yes, no, I don't know. Did we really have several years back from now to make those decisions about setting up those components to launch them, or you see other alternatives on the hindsight which could resolve those issues which we tried to resolve using that infrastructure and maybe in a better way? First, did we need them? Yes, no, I don't know. Or your comments, Alexander? Yes, but it's an absolutely indispensable part. But continue, please. Vladimir? Yes, they are really needed, and we can make a first step forward. Like there were so many good words said about those remote systems. We wouldn't have been able to do that without joint efforts. In the morning, we discussed that the time has come to just maybe to streamline it, maybe to make an IPO or a direct placement. That would be a next step. It will resolve the issue of equal access and also definition of blue chips as companies. Yes, there should be an IPO made for this remote platform. Yes, it should have been done. So what would be the next step? We made this unified player for all the payments. It's like a one-stop shop. But as an IT company, we can see that there is a request for extra services when it comes to payments, peer-to-peer services for SMEs, where we should either do it ourselves, but we're not professionals in that, and it would be just cool if a successful experience could be scaled up and like a uniform standard we could offer it to other actors in the market, those who participate offline and online, different businesses, not just banks. Thank you. As to Alexander, you said yes, but one of the buts were identified at the first panel the morning, like there are some delusion that bankers sometimes are doing things which are not typical for the bank and doing commercial activities, but the platforms we developed are not about commercial activities, not extra, because all customers are retained in the banks. There is a bank's fee for the use of our infrastructure, and despite the fears that we might end up losing billions, but just the reverse, all the banks stepped up their profits. So their fees are also high, notwithstanding all the turmoil for our country and for our businesses. It was 7.7% increase in Q3. That was our increase, 77% in retail turnover, just different banks transactions. Sergey, you said yes, but, well, first of all, I would like to extend my deep respect for you as a moderator, because you asked the question, responded for myself or instead of myself, and then responded to my remark. But I'll recap and continue. Nonetheless, you know something, without an SPK, there would have been lots of different problems. After February, we survived only due to the launch of that service, of that platform. And thank you, Olga. First of all, before that, we had 3 payment systems, one of ours and 2 more among those national payment systems. Now we have got only one. It's not because CBR is doing business or something like that, like some are saying, but in order to move forward, there should be high-quality technological competition. When there were 3 national payment systems, there was Visa, MasterCard is arriving, snapping on its heels, and then Mir. So at the end of the day, mid-term and long-term perspective, it might entail the situation when the rate and the speed of those technological changes might slump. I've got 3 responses to one comment of yours. Number one, it's a strategic one. I'm deeply convinced that the market has transcended this front line, so it's payment without cards, like Sberbank and BP and other systems, system of prompt payments and so on. The question we have been discussing discussing with national payment system regarding business strategies. We'll publish it for future. Is about the fact that we should figure out what we're going to do, mindful of the current trends, mindful of what we see, which services should be developed more, which should we focus upon. That's about our strategy. Another thing, I am fully in favor with the situation when we have got lots of national players, but I'm quite candid. Nobody came along to me as a regulator by saying, let's create another payment system on cards, and we're ready and willing to compete within this niche. The niche is huge because there used to be 3 payment systems, 3 players, and now only 1 remains, which is indicative of 2 things. Number 1, there is no such a player who would be ready and willing to invest that much. It's extremely expensive, mega expensive infrastructure. And so there was not a consortium made around this system of prompt payments because it was huge money to be invested into national infrastructure. Everybody was saying, we are ready to participate, but the government should invest maybe. So we fully agree on that. We're like-minded people. As regards setting up a new company on cards and issuing cards, no one is willing to invest that much money. And as to the competition, it will not be about the cards. It will be in super apps, the services, prompt payments and different services. And the one who would be the first one to make the system more appealing and nicely wrapped for the customer would tap the full market. From the standpoint of payment infrastructure, do we have to do anything else? Do we have to take on board something big scale, big time, or this level is enough? And each and every player should do that later on.
Well, they'll be using existing tools and they'll be inserting them into their products. So what do you think about this one? From the standpoint of payment infrastructure, so I think it's going to be like that for 5 to 10 years, moving forward in the same vein. Just like Alexandra said, so to provide more dynamics to it. So are you really ready as a commercial player and other commercial players with their shareholders to pay money for it? Because what I heard, so can we do it free of charge? No. You can't, but if you would like to participate, if you want to invest in this national system, I think that's the right approach. We can participate with our own investments and we can also involve our clients, so no doubt about that. But if we go back to the first question, so how come it didn't work? What worked, what didn't. So 5 or 7 years ago, thanks to the central bank, we were able to identify some risks in our payment infrastructure. So now that Visa and MasterCard exited, things still work. But one thing we missed, we did not identify. It's not in the scope of responsibility of the central bank. So digitalization of the banking industry in the Russian Federation, it's based on mobile apps, which sounds very familiar. So, but we have lots of developers, mobile app developers, and those apps are placed in 2 stores, Android store and Apple Store. So we thought, well, that was going to be available and free of charge, but somebody owns those stores, and we can be excluded or banned from the use of them, or takes time to get approval, and half of the banks are in that difficult situation. It's not only our problem. Pavel Durov, you may have heard, he talks about the serfdom over those platforms. There is a law being developed in Europe on this. So we missed that trend. I remember I had this discussion who said mobile only, etc., etc. But those who believe that they have to also have a web version. So the trend will be not so much about mobile apps, but about mobile bank in a broader sense of the word. So you start with internet, with online banking, web version, with not having the same kind of access with your smartphone. You cannot have your camera or geolocation, but starting second half next year, online bank of Alfa-Bank will be no different compared to mobile app. So we should be able to do it, but instant release and no updates and value and services for the clients are instantaneously accessible. It doesn't matter if you have this phone or that phone, whether it's recent phone or not. So web version of online banking. The next step should be a messenger-based platform like VK or Telegram. So we work on that. And so this movement from mobile apps with familiar client experience to different platforms, I think mobile bank will be the main answer on the part of the regulator and the government. Of course, you can support us with your words, but we should do it ourselves. I'm sorry that we missed it 5 years ago, but today at Alfa-Bank, our online bank is number one on all parameters. We're ahead of our competitors, but now the competition is on and you can join the race. So this is the best mobile app in Russia, and in 2 years we'll have the best online bank, and we'll use messengers for a banking platform. I would like to second what Vladimir said. So the situation with stores, they seemed inevitable and reliable, but in light of current challenges, we're able, as an industry, to focus on digitalization, because it's not only the financial sector, but generally, we created an alternative store, and many joined us. And they provided not only agreed to participate, but they provided their support, and without them, we would not have been able to do it. Sber was very helpful. Many technological solutions were provided by other partners. So this so-called distance that we talked about when we discussed payments. So we have 7 million downloads on Android. And another thing that I wanted to add, Vladimir is quite right. We should learn in this world. When you have a Russian store, you should also have a mobile bank option and also other ways to bypass those restrictions implemented by the West. So I have this question for you, colleagues, Alexander and Vladimir. So Volodya was right. So this slaves to those platforms, or serfdom to this platform, we have been dependent on them, and now they're behaving not in the way we expected. So we are facing this problem, how we can replace them quickly without making our clients suffer. But in those situations, is it possible to create some common solutions at bank level, or not necessarily there, so that all of the market would be able to use them? In fact, as a country, we have been quite successful dealing with national projects, commercial projects of particular players. There's still this discussion, so open or closed partnerships, etc. But I don't want to focus on this theory, but I would like to hear a very practical answer to this practical question, whether you can create such common solutions for the market, and if yes, what are they, and also how can you do it without regulator and government? Do you believe in this approach? Is it possible? Alexander, let me start with the first one, so whether it's possible or not. So we will see. First of all, with what platforms can be common. So, unified biometric system. So without asking Dmitrii about biometric systems, unified biometric system, it's a pretty straightforward topic. It's been not going anywhere in recent times, but hopefully we'll have a unified government biometric platform. But commercial biometric systems have been developed by different players. So we have government support, and the importance is understood by the government. But commercial bodies, they can basically take those ideas and also develop their own ideas, financial and non-financial applications. So it's a good topic, and I sincerely hope that this issue will be resolved in the following weeks, and State Duma is discussing it too. Hopefully it will materialize. And we'll definitely need support from the government here. I know that it exists, and Olga is actively involved. Another topic about digital financial assets. So we don't want to have interventions here, and maybe we would like to get some support there little by little. One of our 3 platforms, which is allowed in Russia, permitted in Russia, we do some experimenting there with digital financial assets. There are some topics that I cannot discuss, but Olga, I can discuss them. I will have a session on them. We don't have any closed topics here. That's a good news for me. So maybe we can discuss it then. So we'll have a discussion on an API, right? So those documents that we all read. So I'm glad that you read them, because I want to move on to them so I can talk about them. I can ask you the question. We have democracy here, colleagues. Yes. So I just wanted to ask first before I said anything. So that was the next set of questions. So I thought that besides those things, you would share some ideas with it. I like distributed finances, but my question was, what common platforms, not Sberbank platforms for all, but common platforms like Sber, Alfa, Gazprom, VK, may be created by joint efforts for businesses, citizens, and the government. Is that possible? If there is a commercial benefit for all of the participants, why not? Vladimir? I would say this. So lots of platforms have been conceived. Some of them need further elaboration before they're practically implemented. And also platforms don't have to be digital. It would be very important to better advance digital identification. So not just biometrics, but we should also provide some legal framework for it. Another important platform that hasn't been fully implemented, Soglasiya platform, because it's for approval, because we need to provide a lot of approval, or that for personal data processing, etc., lots of approvals. If you ask any person, any of you, how many times have you provided an approval, and in which of those approvals are still effective? I think you would be confused. So some platforms were successful because they were equidistant platforms, and you want people to use those platforms as broadly as often. So if we use those 2 criteria, there's still potential there. Thank you. Now let's move to this vibrant topic of API. Roman touched upon it. From the perspective of a functioning API, it can be used for government services or public services. We, as the central bank, we look at financial market, and yesterday we published the concept of open APIs. We did not say a lot because, to tell the truth, I have 3 projects that for me are developing very slowly: biometrics, API, and also approval platform. So that's where I would like to see faster pace and some breakthroughs for the market, and also to work with different departments and the Ministry of Digital Development. So API is a regulator. We propose market standards not following open banking model, because we are several levels above it. So it's not going to create any additional value for the market or consumers. So with this kind of readiness of colleagues in the Ministry of Digital Development, the ideal option would be to switch to open data, but we do it stage by stage: open finance, then open data in financial sector, and where other industries also open their data. Of course, with getting approvals, confidentiality, and controls in place, or else we do anything. We just wait for everybody to mature for open data. But the Minister of Digital Development was here, and he stressed that in different regions, in different sectors, progress is different. So sitting there and waiting is a bad idea. So open finance that we perceived as sharing data not only between banks but between other participants of the financial market, following specific logic with specific timing. So it should give an opportunity to market players and consumers to create new services, but also should increase competitiveness. So when we were working on the concept, that was quite difficult, and we, by the way, expect to get feedback from you within a month. It was a very difficult question for us. When we talk about obligatory APIs, there are few, and they should be implemented by 2025, so 23 and 24. They'll be recommended only. So standards will be only recommended for application, but starting from 2025, insurance companies and others will be required, and we need to define the circle of participants. If we do it in the same way for all, then big ones will eliminate the small ones, even though we don't have small ones that many, but their chances to compete will be pretty much nil. So, but this current situation tells us that we should not ignore those medium-sized or small companies or banks. They're very innovative, and they are able to develop new helpful things. So mandatory APIs at the first stage should be opened for major players, to have competition between major players and SMEs, and participate in the financial market will be able to use them and to develop their products and services, and then some later it can be opened to anyone. I'm sure that major players will be against it, but it's normal, it's even good. Many things that we mentioned here today, because they work fine, they started with hot debates and conflicting positions, but practices in life helped us be reconciled with each other. So my question is for colleagues from the financial sector and to Vladimir. So one way or the other, You have discussed it. You implement APIs in your ecosystem, and you do successfully. Many clients felt it and say, okay, this is so great because in one window I can get all of those things. So it is an advantage for people in business, but it's another question whether market players will want to have that harsh competition between themselves, because data will be provided to competitors. So what is your vision? And then Vladimir, please also speak on this topic. So our position has not changed. We're for it. Major players are against. At least one is in favor, and so you are in favor of. So we start with mandatory API. So starting with the major players, I would say we are in favor of an API. We are all equal, but some are especially equal. We like API, and we think it's the right way to go. We looked at the documents that have been published. There's some technical issues to discuss, but generally, as a concept, it is right. So some doubt that should be discussed here is to what extent data will be protected, so that we protect the data ourselves, and we are confident of this. I'm sure that Alpha and VK have good cybersecurity, but if our data is accessed by a bank that cannot assure good cybersecurity, then we may have some problems there. But this is a separate discussion, because generally we agree with the concept, and I have some cognitive dissonance. I don't know why the correlation doesn't work. For those areas where we had hot debates, we've had some major advancements. And when we just say, oh, we are in favor of this, so those are, in those areas we're lagging behind. Maybe we should say, oh, we are against this, and then things will work. No. If you say you're in favor, but you are not one of the largest, so, and we have this argument, and that means it will be successful. Okay.
Я человек последовательный. Я много лет подряд говорю, что мне не очень понятна эта история с open banking.
I keep telling you year in, year out that I don't quite clear about this theory of open banking. So don't say that if we are big players, so we don't have enough arguments, let the others do the thing. Why open finance? Why open banking? It seems to me altogether that it will fall flat in the nearest future. They will stall, not because someone is in favor or against for that matter. And main thing is to encourage competition. What kind of encouraging competition? It takes only 40 seconds to open up a bank account for a household. We grow up 2.5-fold the customer base among the corporations and households. So it's competition hard enough. So my first idea is that what we do else will not boost up the competition. Or even if we implement that and smaller players would get access to that, they don't have chances at all, because our level of digitalization and our expertise in UX and UI, artificial intelligence and others is not just that level. So huge companies earning dozens of billion rubles will get access and will become even richer and will thrive on that. But small players don't have a chance. And thirdly, not about open finance, it's about APIs. Banks do that. We launched an API platform and integrated with different actors, with different clients at Alfa-Bank. So large companies would get thriving on that. Small companies don't have chance on that. So it's open finance, then open data, billing and utilities bills, data about retail, sales, or whatever. Why it should be only banks who would grant those services to others? More practical and more prudent would be is to increase digital skills for companies and for households. It would be a win-win situation. Well, we've got another take on it. From our perspective, we're fully aware that all the services, no matter how large the company is, sometimes it cannot conceive all the services because you're accustomed to some others. Some financial institutions sometimes display more flexibility. Same goes for IT sector. We made API within the social media. When people launch it, we provide them with access from within the social media. We have got more than 60,000 of such apps. It's more than 35 million people who enter that service. They enter VK in order to have this or that service. We should agree upon the form of this transfer. We have to comply with the legislation about the personal data protection. Each user that way gives their consent to one platform like VK, but did not allow it for all the other platforms. Or we should do hash and provide for unified data, or we should process the data and get an informed consent from the user. But the platform aggregates data, and through gateways, it speeds up the appearance of new services, and users are attracted to those financial sectors, and they find the best bank for them. By the same token, in social media, we compete for time, so that when there is an API for large platforms, so that the individuals could get access to them, that would be good. You're right about the safety of data, and we have got the whole part of it. When we are speaking about APIs, we should sort out the issue of safety of data. Bottom line issue is trust. The participants of the financial market are being trusted, mindful of other players in the market. First, we should streamline the infrastructure to provide for this trust and confidence to process personal data in the correct way, mindful of the readiness and willingness for open data. I said from the start that it would be great if we do it by joint endeavors, but we don't think that everybody is ready, because there are lots of different fights, and we can lose time. And I think that the competition would be there, provided we start from large players, and it's not just banks, but other companies and institutions as well. And we understand that there are risks which are hovering above us. It would be more comfortable without those risks, but one not used to living in comfort. Discomfort is okay for us when we start implementing something new. And I would like to say that the infrastructure should be streamlined so that it would be a win-win situation. And I'll give you the time for the comments. And mindful of what you said about open data, I would like to address this question for the representative of Ministry for Digital Development. I think you're boring because I don't communicate with this part of the panel. We discussed the issue of open data with the Ministry for Digital Development. It would be quite ideal when we could agree upon the standards and unified conditions, and all the players, irrespective of the sector, from the consent of an individual, provide for this personal data, and we would enrich our digital services and products. It would be like one stop shop. What's your take on this situation about readiness and willingness of state services and ministries and departments to participate in this entire story, so to put it, of open data? We are ready and willing. But, well, just by one example, for the digital development, we are very simple guys, and we participate in different discussions. We're not sitting just in our offices all the time. Let's say there is a service in the bank, and one has to confirm the income or the balance on the account. How does it work? You take a picture via a smartphone of the bank's statement with the blue seal, and the departments are saying, what can you offer? I say I'll try to come to terms to some of the banks, to a limited number of socially responsible banks, so that they would form this statement in XML and attest it to the application. The department thinks about it, talks to IT specialists, and they say, yes, it's the signature of the bank. You as the representative of the Ministry for Digital Development, is it okay? I say, yes, it's okay. Let's agree upon that. And we're losing a lot of time because as to the standards and open data, oftentimes we have to put together lots of efforts to come to terms. If there's a national standard, it would be great. If, let's say, I would like to transfer a statement from my account to the governmental services, it could be done via WhatsApp, so that people should not go run around like mad, and there could be some counterfeited statement. One person, there is a theft of personal identity. So we would like to digitize everything to make life easier for households and companies and banks, so digitally different pieces of information could be transferred to make it more convenient for end users. At the end of the day, our main task is not to maximizing our profits, but we are working for the sake of the end users. The end users would like that, and banks would offer it as integrated services and would get competitive edge and competitive advantage. I am from financial backward. It was very easy. There was a lot of information taken from profit and loss statements. Let's say now the competition has been shifting towards drivers and services, which users consider as being an extra value. We're in favor of all the good things done, but we should roll up our sleeves and do that. Dear colleagues, it's very challenging when I am going to do something with my colleagues, a fabulous response. But are you ready and willing to come up with open data? Is it okay for you? There is the request and the need on behalf of the financial market. At the ministry, we are guys from the Ministry for Digital Development, so we have got our both feet back on the ground. Yes, we're in favor of everything very good, things like open data, open APIs, and we're in favor of competition as well, because there could be different good mobile apps, and we have got RobotX, and then also we will be able to integrate our services. We're in favor of that. Yes, I catch you on your word, because mindful of the fact that now we have got some time for the feedback, Dmitrii, and concurrently with that, we'll have down to the point discussion whether within those deadlines which are binding to come up with the final response, do the same standards for telecom operators or for large retail net chains. It's not just a lip-deep comment. If we do everything right to have it as a win-win situation, so we should do it in such a way so that there would be open data for bigger players in the market, then we could do it fast-track, stage by stage. Thank you very much, because you said, yes, I'm going to use that. And in the nearest future, we're going to discuss how we should do that exactly.
Да.
Olga, yes. Well, I would like to introduce some doubts as well. To recap on what has been discussed, I have a feeling that as we're all bankers here, people who are bankers and fintech guys, they are discussing things which are related to transactions. Not quite so. We are discussing sharing and exchange of different information on transactions for banks to get fuel in the way of the market, so to put it. First of all, it's important to refer to departmental informational systems, all those statements from accounts and different ones, and also statements and information from passport, visa services, federal migration service, road inspection, transportation information, passenger vehicles information from road inspection, and of course there is federal law 152 about protection of personal data. Of course, this is very true, very right, but we should take account of more narrow niche-based departmental systems like Rospatent, that is Russian patent, or the register of software of Ministry for the Digital Development, which could be a new source of liquidity in the sector. There are some more niche things like big 10 banks and global things like digital profile, so that there will be different commonplace transactions in the civic nature, but also there should be new financial entities in our countries, digital financial assets. They are perceived as corporate platforms within the specific banks and financial systems. This is right, and this is true, but I think that these entities are the entities of one bank, which should be perceived and regulated and considered. Without that, it would not. It would be wrong to do anything else. Moreover, for young startups, for young IT specialists, IT companies, I think we should develop those APIs for them as well, and to provide them with the impetus via social media so that people would get access to them, would get some marketplace. We discussed that with Valery Markov, creation of marketplace and software bundles for universities. There will be an informational system so that everybody would get free of charge access, and sectoral departmental decisions are very, very important here, and departmental digital assets of federal level are very important here. They should be embedded into the set of those APIs for those marketplaces. Thank you very much, Vladimir. In point of fact, we are referring to a very benign situation and competitive edge, and you have got a challenging task because you are now reloading, resetting VK social medium. You should bring it up to the level of best international standards. What are your major tasks for the nearest half a year, let's say, down the road? What do you plan to do as a social media? Thank you very much. First of all, I liked very much what you said. First of all, digital surfing. When there is a storm and a turbulence around, you should get rid of unnecessary things. First of all, we restructured very deeply our holding company. We found optimal balance with our partners, and we concentrated on several aspects: growth of our audience, social media, social services, and we monitor our audience. Our goal is to increase our audience in VK. Contact will issue a public report recently, but it's more than 70 million daily audience using services of VK, and it's important to have time expense. People enter our social media and they find something interesting like education or games. We'll launch services which would provide for new new experience or replace the previous one. We launched a sequence of short video, about 7 million viewers daily, although our main competitor is TikTok. Mindful of the development of game direction, there are lots of young people who can do that. They cannot get access to game content. We launched a platform, VK Play, so it's 7 million viewers monthly. We would like to have them every day with us in the same number. And I trust that we need our own messenger. It's social media, social networks, we need our own messenger. Now, messengers are not just a tool for communication. It's payments, transactions, settlements, services, businesses have been drifting towards this. And so we developed this messenger, and we are removing the limits for transfer of the file, transmission of the files. There will be other updates and renewals so that it would be used as business notifications and business messages. And we made a very important decision for Messenger. We remove all the fees free of charge. You can do that via API instead of sending SMS. The most important criteria is MPS. It's important for the information to be transmitted to financial sector should be useful, not promos or spam. It's just the information about financial account statements or whatever, and it would be free of charge. So we would have more services for our users with very interesting content, with interacting with bloggers and celebrities and influencers, education. This is important. We invest a lot into education, digital education, starting from basic services from the portfolio of our company. We have got service.ru for school children and students, and second, getting extra education. And so it's very important for our users, and our users would be the entire audience of RUNET, and as CIS country would get high quality content and do it quite deliberately, and we'll be striving to be better and better with every day.
So great reporting, quarterly reporting, 24 billion rubles in a quarter and 41 of profit for the whole year. It's sounds great to me. Thank you. So that sounds good, but you all want to look at the financial parameters, your bankers. We do rely on our national leaders as the regulator, as government. We are there to help you, and whether we want or not, but the question is how our major players alongside SMEs, how they can grow and become more successful and more independent from foreign technologies, digital technologies. It's part of our agenda, and we are following this path. And we're close to conclude the session, colleagues, and I admire the results of these discussions because, as always, I wrote 7 home assignments for myself at Dmitrii. I would like to read them for all of you to know what they are, because each of the speakers spoke some important things, some key things, but unfortunately nobody offered to create a commercial platform for commercial companies to come together. So they want the regulator and the government to do it. We've done it before, so it's not a problem. But anyway, in fact, having been through a lot, we understand this better, and this discussion confirms it, that we should, it's not like we should not stop, but we clearly should do more, like digital profile of a legal entity. I heard the answer that it's coming this year. Resetting IBS, yes, it's happening. In fact, a lot of effort was spent on it. A good model was developed, and as the central bank will become shareholders of the joint venture, hopefully it will materialize by the end of the year. Most importantly, it should be a super solution technologically, and also should be linked to commercial solutions that add it without any conflicts. The third home assignment, open data. Can you specify it more? It's quite specific. Let me repeat it. I would like to discuss with you and agree that we do open finance, we need to do open data, and we need to have standards for major and smaller financial players. So let's discuss it. That will be our third one. Because we are a department, we're a practical department. We need to know the specifics. When it sounds vague, it's a bit scary because anything can hide behind those wordings. Roman was specific about open data with a larger access, wider access to government public services. It's already happening, but we should do something like do it on a quarterly basis. We have some experience there. So being Ministry of Digital Development, when they talked about APIs, about public services, to do it on third-party applications, that means we provide an opportunity for financial organizations, and actually they get involved at a slower pace. It's not our problem, but financial institutions, organizations, not every financial organization wants to have access. There are quite few. There are only few, those who are willing to invest in that. We are ready. We have some successful precedents, but we don't see a lot of demand from you. We don't see it. So, colleagues, let me reconcile you. The demand will be there. I have a specific list of those who we see there in the financial space and also from other industries. It's not a large list, I understand that we should discuss it, but any discussion should be completed with a roadmap. Number 4, both for us, with you, Dmitrii, it's approval platform. The central bank mentioned that multiple times, but my colleagues are right that platform should work as part of our countrywide infrastructure. It's about all commercial services, not only about finances, and it's directly linked to open data. Number 5, we would like to see public key, the platform for digital services. So far, it's not really working. But how security is there? I don't know whether aware of that or not, but it can be done remotely. But even in real estate, if there's an error, you don't need to go to Russian registry office. You should have this public key, and it can be done remotely in many other cases. Or you can use this platform, public key, for multiple purposes. It's been operational. It is operational, but believe me, I tried it. So client path is far from being the best. So there's some things to work on there. Number 6, we don't have the answer to this question, but hopefully we should be able to do it together about a seamless identification, end-to-end identification, how we can link commercial identification to public identification, and how we can do it with cross-border when you offer those services. So it's an approval platform and identification. So they are key from the perspective of building a digital ecosystem in our country. And we should work on these issues and resolve them. And number 7, how to develop digital asset platforms, cashless platforms. This is not necessarily our issue, but because we're a regulator and we develop standards and frameworks, we will discuss this tomorrow. We will have a session that I'll be moderating, digital ruble, digital financial assets, and other things. So come and we'll discuss it. Maybe we'll find a solution for it. So I would like to conclude this discussion with this. Thank you all for the warm welcome.
And
at the next FINOPOLIS, hopefully all the 7 objectives that we have identified, we'll see some results on them all. Thank you.